Never say I don't suffer for my work. Donkey Kong Bananza is a collectathon where you play as Donk and his adoptive daughter Ponk on their quest to reach the center of the earth where a biblically accurate banana is said to grant any wish. Along the way, Donk and Ponk fight a whole lot of baddies and pick up a whole lot of items, hence collectathon. These items are not technically required to beat the game, they just give you upgrades that make the game way easier. I am skipping all of that. No bananas, no fossils, no upgrades, no pants, nothing. Now that's not too difficult on its own, so I'm upping the ante. No banana chips. That's basically the Donkey Kong equivalent of beating a Mario game without touching any coins. If I do ever accidentally pick up a banana chip or any other item in the game, I'm gonna have to reset back to the last save point and try again. I'll give you a little reset counter down here at the bottom, so you understand what I'm going through. With that out of the way, let's jump into the game. Actually, before we jump into the game, you might be asking yourself, hey, he said he's not picking anything up. Does that mean this is gonna be a no gold run too?
Oh wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
We open in Ingot Isle, the pre-tutorial area, where the first thing I do is fix the controls. The second thing I do is click the clap button, picking up everything in a range around me, including a banana chip, forcing the first reset of the run. Off to a great start. Now I know not to ever click the clap button, just in case there's a chip nearby. On my next attempt, I make it slightly past where I lost my last one, and start digging my first hole, which spawns a banana chip on top of me, causing another reset. Okay, no clapping and no digging, just in case. I make it to the end of the pre-tutorial zone, where a huge pile of Banandia gems awaits. Fortunately, I don't need to collect any of these to progress. A cutscene begins, removing Donk's pants and throwing him into the true tutorial. The true-torial, if you will. We make a beeline through the tutorial zone and meet up with Ponk, whose magic singing will help us out on our mission. But not right now. Her voice is a little, let's say gravelly? It's fine, get her some Neocitrin and a good night's sleep and she'll be good as new. We proceed through the tutorial, skipping bananas along the way, and careful not to break any terrain so no surprise banana chips. At the end of the tutorial, we fight our first enemy and I notice that I somehow collected 2 banana chips. I don't know how or when, but it's not a big deal. We'll just reset and, looks like the game's autosaved locked me into collecting those 2 chips. I'll have to be careful to manually save from here on out. Still, it's back to the very beginning. Pre-tutorial area, avoid chips, opening cutscene, tutorials. I have a chip. Now, it takes me a little while to figure this out, but what's happening is the game is automatically collecting all the loose banana chips on the ground whenever I start a cutscene. So I have to make sure there are no loose chips around anywhere before the cutscene starts. But I haven't figured this out yet, so I just keep throwing myself at the 2 tutorial segments, hoping I didn't collect any of these phantom chips during a cutscene, constantly saving along the way. Eventually, I beat our first enemy, moving us along to the first real level, the Lagoon Lair. The levels in this game come in 2 forms, Easy and God I wish I were dead right now. Lagoon is the first one. Here, it's our job to unclog 3 pipes and raise the water level. I almost walked directly into a banana chip while looking for a high vantage point, but outside of that, we have no trouble unclogging the pipes to unlock our first transformation, Kong Bananza, which gives us the power to break concrete with our bare fists. Concrete. Concrete. I'll have to figure that one out later. Ketamine Kong smashes through hordes of enemies to unlock our way to the first boss, but in doing so reveals another problem. Enemies drop banana chips when they're killed, so I have to do this whole segment without killing any enemies, or I'll auto-collect their chips at the end, forcing a reset. Up against our first boss, Pika Bruiser. The name of the game is Smashing Terrain, which is bad for us because it'll spawn in banana chips. We take 1 reset, and get it on our next try, moving us forward to the next level, Hilltop Lair. Hilltop was easily one of my favorite layers to play casually, being a chill place with a wide open area to play around in and explore. It also introduces the Fresh and Funky Fractones. Great band name. These little guys are made of like rock candy or something. I don't know, but I just love the vibes of this place. In this run, there are only 2 challenges to overcome in Hilltop. One is this big hill I have to climb without using any of the upgrades the game expects me to have bought by this point in the game. Like the Chunk Jump, which lets you kick off a piece of terrain, giving you some extra height. Or at least that's what I thought anyways. As it turns out, you don't have to unlock the chunk jump. You have it from the very beginning, and I didn't realize this until the very last level of the game. Oopsie poopsie, I'm a dum-dum, so keep this in mind while I'm doing the challenge, because I'm missing one of my main movement options. The other challenge we have to overcome is a gold grind. We're expected to shill out 3,000 gold for the Fractone Union, or they won't clear a path to the next layer. The best way to get gold is to smash up terrain and open treasure chests, both of which are off limits for us because they would, drop banana chips. So I have to find an alternate source of income. First, I try using these little platforms over here. They turn into whatever you throw at them, so by finding a piece of gold and throwing it at it, I can get an infinite amount with no chance of dropping banana chips. This takes forever, so I settle for collecting what little gold the Fractones have lying around town, and then resetting the whole layer. The added benefit of this is that it despawns all the banana chips on the ground. I finally gather together the 3,000 gold required, and move on to the canyon layer without any resets. In the canyon layer, it's a straight shot to the boss, Grumpy Kong, who summons an enormous, intimidating statue to fight us, and then just lets us punch him in the face until he goes down. Deeper into the canyon layer, we have a bunch of these little minecart segments that stress me out so much, because I'm afraid there's going to be a banana chip on the track, and there's going to be no way to avoid it, and it's going to be the end of the challenge, and all the work I put into it is going to be gone. I hate it so much every time I hop into one of these minecarts. There's even a minecart boss we have to fight against the Mad Mixer, which ends up not being a problem, but still, it stresses me out. After beating Mad Mixer, we have to climb all the way to the top of the canyon layer up this big, long ladder. Right as we reach the top, I accidentally grab a chip. I'll be more careful on my next attempt, and we make it to the true boss of the canyon layer, Stompin' Clomper. Stompin' Clomper's a tough boss, because he destroys terrain, and he manages to spawn in a single banana chip during the fight. I spend the rest of the fight worrying about this chip, because I'm convinced it's going to get picked up automatically at the end of the fight, but it doesn't for some reason. I don't know why just yet, but I'll have an answer for you later. We're given a choice where to proceed from here. Either we go to the forest layer and get ostrich powers, or we go to the freezer layer and get zebra powers. Ostrich gives us flight. Ostriches are famously known for their flight. So it seems like a no-brainer which way we're gonna go. In the forest layer, we take our first death of the run, but other than that, we have no trouble getting the ostrich bonanza. Once we have our ostrich powers, we manage to flub an easy jump over a ring of chips. Twice. And then a phantom cutscene chip forces me to redo the whole segment again. With that done, we're on to the boss of the forest layer. Abracadab. This boss is really hard, guys. Like, the easy peasy cheese for this boss is to fly past its tentacles with ostrich powers, but without any upgrades, our flight doesn't last long enough for me to clear the gaps, and with only 3 health, I die in 2 hits. Also, if you fall off, you're as good as dead because the only way to get back up to the boss is using ostrich flight, which I can't recharge once I'm down here without smashing terrain and collecting gold, and it's not really worth it to risk that because I could pick up a banana chip, so it just becomes a whole thing. It took me 2 real-life hours to beat this boss. I didn't even bother recording all the attempts. This is the reason I'm not doing a death counter for this run, just a chip reset counter. I am not having fun anymore. Abracajabberwocky is dead, and I feel nothing. Moving on to the freezer layer. Screw you, John Wyndham. We have a couple of resets at the beginning of the freezer layer thanks to another cutscene picking up chips. It's at this point I tried asking the Bananza speedrunning Discord about making chips despawn, and the general consensus was that they basically never despawn. I will find out later this is not true, and the real answer is so much worse. But I don't know the horrible truth yet, so I'll just unlock Zebra Power and use them to reach our next boss. Kong. Slay Sister, who much like her coworker Grumpy, is weak to being punched in the face. It's an easy win for us. The next area has a puzzle where I have to dig a channel for ice pellets to pour on lava to cool it off, where I accidentally pick up another chip while digging the channel. To finish off Freezer Layer, we need to beat Inflaminite. During this fight, I notice something strange happen that I don't understand the ramifications of until much, much later. I see a chip despawn mid-fight. Now, what I will eventually come to understand is that both the conventional knowledge that banana chips never despawn and what I had seen are both true. So, as it turns out, chips can despawn, but only when you're staring directly at them. From the moment these chips hit the ground, I need to point my camera at them for 20 seconds to make it despawn. I counted. And when the camera isn't pointed at them, the timer stops. We beat Inflaminite and head towards the next layer, the Junction, where we have our first confrontation with the big bad of the game, Void Kong, who, much like his subordinates, is weak to getting punched in the face, so he runs like a coward. We chase him to Hilltop Layer and have a brief scuffle, causing him to run away again to the Lagoon Layer. This Lagoon Layer fight is one of the hardest fights in the entire challenge. Void Kong is constantly summoning enemies which explode into chips when they die, and throwing bombs at you which can break terrain spawning in chips. You can't even wait for the chips to despawn because he'll just throw more bombs at you, which can spawn more chips. I also have a first time occurrence here. One of Void's bombs whizzes past my head and collects a fossil way off in the distance, forcing a reset. I managed to beat Void eventually, but it causes a reset counter to jump from 20 to 34 from this phase alone, and that's not counting any deaths that happen along the way. Fortunately, his last phase is back to the Junction, and weak to punching, so we can move on. After the stress of that fight, I get to take a breather in the appropriately named Resort Layer. It's a quick climb to the top of the resort, and then a long plunge all the way down to the layer below. Honk, you can't just call someone that. The Tempest Layer comes after Resort, and it's a long one, so let's speed through this a little bit. We dive off the first ledge and straight into the boss fight with Blusterwing, who we beat without any trouble. We bypass the next puzzle by climbing all the way around the outside wall of the level, because I'm too lazy to find the correct path. Doing so unlocks Elephant Bananza, which is possibly the most powerful transformation in the game because of how quickly it can destroy terrain, which is terrifying to use in this challenge because of all the potential chip spawns and accidental fossil collections it could cause, so I'll avoid using it until absolutely necessary. This Bananza allows us to fight Blusterwing again and move on to the final leg of the Tempest Layer. Down here, everything is electrified and I'm constantly being struck with lightning. I have to stop a few times to despawn chips so I don't auto-collect them later. But now that I know I can do that, we can make it to the final Blusterwing fight without any resets. I get bodied by it a few times, it moves fast and hits hard. And to make it even tougher, all the little gold pieces it leaves on the ground are electrified as traps for people that are too stupid to notice. It's me, I'm people. In the fight where I beat it, I run out of chunks to throw at it, and I'm forced to reuse a chunk I'd already stuck to one of its wings, but that does get us through the fight, freeing the creature trapped within. Ponkus Pauline Kong, you can't just call someone that! We end up in Landfill Layer, which, after a solid 5 minutes of digging straight down with the help of these little eels, we landed a Pika Bruiser refight that Elephant Bananza shreds, moving us right on to the next level.
Diddy Kong Racing! Press start!
On second thought, maybe we skip that level. It is a silly place. We arrive in Radiance Layer. The gimmick here is light, which can turn certain blocks into sand, but in order to do that, we need a light source first. We try to break open the light source, but we collect a chip on accident and have to reset. Twice actually. Or 3 times, because enemies killing each other can also auto-collect chips. 3 resets in a row. Hope that's not a trend for this layer. We move on to the next floor, where we're expected to collect 4 record pieces to unlock our last Bananza. We entirely bypass the first record puzzle with the power of falling. The second record doesn't even have a puzzle, you can just walk in and grab it. The third puzzle is a maze you have to navigate in the dark. We can do this with ease, but are randomly given a chip along the way and have to reset and do it all over again. For the fourth record piece, we need to cross a zip line using that special material that turns into sand when it's exposed to light. The only source of that material is the enemies nearby, but they die instantly and give me chips if I try and collect it from them. That's fine. I'll just backtrack all the way to the previous floor and take it from the enemies that don't die when I steal their dirt. Then I'll run all the way back down to the zip line, I'll zip across, grab the record, hit the switch for their turn line, and Okay, I'll just wait for the zip line to move down a little bit so they're out of the way and... Oh, come on, they were like 6 feet away from me. It's fine, I'll just do that whole process again, backtracking all the way back around, up to the top floor, steal dirt from a guy, all the way back down again, across the zip line, This time I'll keep the zip line lower so I don't accidentally hit chips on the way back. I'll land in front of the snake guy and... Was it something I said? Was it something I did? Is this punishment for me skipping your cool slidey puzzle by just jumping down the tower? No, it's fine. We'll do it all over again, make it back to Snake Boss, get our transformation, and walk to the next area and... Just how many total resets does it take? We're skipping past all this. How many resets does it take to get to the end of Radiant's Lair? Just so we're clear, each of these attempts takes like 5 minutes, so that's an hour of my life I'm not getting back. On to the next part, the game basically forces you to use Snake for this Donkey Kong-style tower climb, complete with barrels and everything. Or so you'd think. You could probably complete this whole thing without using Snake Bananza, but I'm still not chunk jumping, remember? And Snake controls so awkward, I die like 3 times attempting this. At the top, we have our last fight with Donkey Kong, who's still weak to punching, and our last fight with Grumpy, who's resistant to punching thanks to a helmet. Resistant, not immune. We can finally move on from the Radiance layer. Oh yeah, and there was one more reset in the middle there. It was just a fight with some random enemies, not a big deal. On the next level, Donk is separated from Ponk and sent to jail for crimes. Bad crimes. Worse than bad crimes. Illegal crimes. And now he's gotta punch his way out. Never mind, that's a reset. Sneaking out the peaceful way leads Donk to meet up with Donkey Kong and the funky fresh Fractones. We fix their sound system, and they reunite us with our missing Ponk. With Ponk by our side again, we can move on to the Feast Layer. The Feast Layer causes me untold suffering, which I will now tell you about. In this area of the map over here, I have to push a button to progress, but every time I go over there, I just get a single random banana chip. From nowhere. The game just gives it to me as a reward for all the hard work I'm doing making it this far. The best I can figure is that some off-screen enemy's gotta be hitting a chip and collecting it for me on my behalf. And I'm 90% sure it's one of these pigs right over here, but I just can't prove it. No amount of reloading the area, resetting terrain, or turning my console off and back on again seems to get rid of it. I just need to get lucky. 13 resets from this one chip. It causes 13 resets. The rest of Feast Layer 1 doesn't cause too much trouble for me, but there is one reset. I kill an enemy to get him out of my way, but it turns out he was holding a fossil. Not a big deal. Other than that, there's a Mad Mixer refight, a very slow auto-scroller, and the world's grossest burger, which consists of 7, count 'em 7, Beyond Meat banana patties with cheese, 3 tomato slices, only 3 tomato slices with 7 patties, 2 strips of bacon as thick as the patties themselves and coiled around the outside of the burger, and 6 lettuce leaves. I'm pretty sure this monstrosity is whatever it is Bubble Bass ordered back in that old episode of SpongeBob, sans pickles. Leaving that thing alone, we're gonna move on to the boss of Feast Layer. What in the fresh hell's kitchen do we have here? It's Muckety Muck, who I consider to be one of the hardest bosses, casually speaking. You have to use the game's salt and slime and lava mechanics to hit him, and if you've played the game, you know exactly how well those work. He fills his entire arena with deadly slime and enemies and holes that you can get stuck in that make the fight super chaotic and hard to navigate. And on top of all of that, I've got a question for the viewers at home. What do you think happens to the enemies he spawned in at the end of each phase? That's right, they die! Yay! Exploding into a shower of banana chips all over the arena. Just a reminder, those are gonna auto-collect at the end of the fight. The winning play in this fight is just kinda sad to watch. I realized that once I've broken down Muckety Muck's body, he just kinda sits there waiting for me to beat him to death. So I have time to methodically kill every mini-muck on the map and wait the requisite 20 seconds of on-screen time required to make every banana chip disappear. Then I get to beat the ever-loving tar out of Muckety Muck's core. Only 4 resets on this fight officially, but just so many deaths trying to make that happen. We are on to the penultimate layer of the game, the Forbidden Layer. Enormous Fractones block our way and refuse to let us proceed. Unless... We don't have the money for all that, though, so I need to find a good source of income before we can continue. I hope Diddy didn't need that for anything important. That's fine, it was an eyesore anyways. We have our money in hand, and we can finally approach the planet's core. And this is where I realized I could chunk jump without an upgrade. Even though the game tried to teach me all the way back at the beginning, I just didn't listen. Let's not dwell on how stupid I am, and move on to the Void Kong fight. We use everything we learned throughout our challenge here. Chip despawning, stunning the boss so I can chip despawn, the power of punching things really hard. It's a really fun fight, and we managed to take Void down with only a few resets. With Void Kong defeated, Donk and Ponk can claim their wish for... But what's this? It's King K. Rool with the steel chair! We chase K. Rool to the planet's core, stopping only to smash up the stupid statue he built of himself along the way. Stopping for nothing along the way. What does end up slowing us down is consecutive combat against the Kremlin Coliseum's cavalcade of crooked crocodilians. All the enemies down here do enough damage to one-shot me, and the entire arena is surrounded by crystals filled with banana chips that'll collect if I break them. 5 resets later and too many deaths to count, I figure out the strat. I lure the enemies to the far edge of the arena and throw them into the pit. Now I don't have to worry about their chips cluttering up the arena, or about their bodies collecting the crystal banana chips at the edge of the arena. The only issue with this plan is there's a few enemies in there that are immune to spikes, but I can carefully pick them off at a range with some chunks. Now nothing can stop us on our way to the final challenge. Though an unexpected cutscene pickup right outside the K. Rool fight does force another reset. But now, nothing can stop Donk and his... Is Donk? Look at that thing, it's mesmerizing. What? Oh yeah. We take out K. Rool and he gets so mad about the loss, he takes the fight all the way over to my Mario Odyssey save file. And right here, this is where the final challenge lays. The Hell Run. A cinematic chance for players to show off their skills with the transformations they've collected over the course of the game. But for this challenge, it's an impossible wall, because at the end of the Hell Run is a cutscene. Any enemies we kill along the way will drop chips, and any enemies that fall in the lava can drop chips. The rising lava prevents me from stopping to despawn the chips, and on top of all of that, there's an unskippable 3-minute auto-scroller I have to sit through every time I attempt this run. I was distraught. I made it to the very end of the game, only to find that in the last stretch, it was impossible. But I'm not so easily dissuaded. My mom might have raised a fool or two, but she didn't raise a quitter. And I have one last desperate ploy for just this sort of situation. I begged the DK Bananza speedrunning community for help, and they provided. In the world record speedrun, Vitox uses a dangerous forbidden technique called an IFAT to fly directly to K. Rool, preventing all enemies from spawning in the first place and collecting no chips in the process. Now I just need to learn how to IFAT. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Let's try a different approach. Throughout the Hell Run, there are checkpoints you can reach along the way. Now, we're not allowed to save at them, but I do respawn there if I die. And at this point, Donk's life is worth less to me than a single banana chip. So at each checkpoint, I jump into the lava to despawn all previous chips. For the very last checkpoint, I just have to make sure I don't kill any enemies before reaching the final cutscene trigger. I do this by skirting along the edge of the final platform, and I have just enough time for one last chip despawn before I climb the tower to our final showdown with K. Rool. The final battle is tough. I remind you, I have no health upgrades, no defense upgrades, and no bonus Bonanza powers. And if I somehow manage to pick up a banana chip in this fight, which I don't think is possible, but I really don't want to find out, I'll be forced to go all the way back to before the auto-scroller and have to do the Hell Run again. The final injustice of this run is that if I die to K. Rool, I'm sent back to this little strip over here where I have to use Zebra Bonanza to run back to the fight. But here's the thing. There's an itty-bitty, teeny-weeny, minuscule little chance that this platform breaking can spawn in a banana chip. And I know it can, because I saw it happen. You thought I didn't game, but I did. I was watching. I see what you did there. I see right through you, and I'm not having it. I throw myself into the lava, despawning the chip, run it back again, and beat K. Rool to death with my meaty monkey fists. Victory is mine. I'm going to go shovel. My front door is buried under like 6 feet of snow right now. Good night, everybody. Hey, thanks a bunch for watching. If you like this video, like the video and do the other YouTube stuff, leave a comment for me. I'd love to read about what you think of this. And I hope it wasn't too obvious I was super sick when I made this video. Take care now.